Welcome to the Real Crime Diary, Daily Dose of Crime. Today we're diving into a case that sent shockwaves through Vietnam's financial world. Imagine building an empire of wealth and power only to see it crumble overnight. That's exactly what happened to one of Vietnam's most prominent property tycoons. But this isn't just a story of one person's fall from grace. It's a tale that has left thousands of victims in its wake, their life savings vanishing into thin air. What drives someone to commit fraud on such a massive scale? And how did it all come crashing down? Stay with me as we unravel this complex web of deceit that's being called Vietnam's biggest corruption case ever. From humble beginnings to the height of power, and then a spectacular fall from grace, this is the story of Trung Lan. Imagine, if you will, a bustling marketplace in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam's largest metropolis. It's here, amidst the vibrant stalls and chattering voices, that a young Trung Lan began her journey. Working alongside her Chinese mother, she sold cosmetics, learning the art of business from the ground up. But Lan had grander ambitions. As Vietnam's economy opened up in the early 1990s, she saw an opportunity. In 1992, she and her family established Van Thien Phat, a company that would become a real estate empire. Over the next 3 decades, Lan's wealth and influence grew exponentially. She became a property tycoon, her name synonymous with luxury developments and financial success. But beneath the glittering facade, a web of corruption was forming. Fast forward to 2024, and the empire Lan built has come crashing down. In April, she was sentenced to death in Vietnam's largest corruption case ever. The charges: orchestrating a mind-boggling $12.5 billion financial fraud and illegally controlling a major bank, leading to losses of $27 billion. But the story doesn't end there. Now Lan faces new charges that paint an even more damning picture. She's accused of obtaining property by fraud, money laundering, and illegal cross-border transfers. The numbers are staggering. $1.2 billion raised from nearly 36,000 investors through illegal bond issuances. $18.1 billion allegedly laundered, and $4.5 billion transferred illegally across borders. From selling cosmetics to facing the death penalty, Trung Lan's rise and fall serves as a cautionary tale of unchecked ambition and the far-reaching consequences of financial misconduct. Let's dive into the mind-boggling numbers behind this financial fraud that's shaken Vietnam to its core. Brace yourselves, because these figures are truly staggering. First, we have the initial fraud case that led to Trung Lan's death sentence. We're talking about a whopping $12.5 billion. That's not million, folks. Billion with a B. To put that into perspective, this amount is roughly 3% of Vietnam's entire GDP for 2022. Imagine a single person being responsible for a fraud case that equates to such a significant chunk of a country's economic output. But wait, there's more. The illegal loans that Lan allegedly facilitated through her control of the Saigon Commercial Bank resulted in losses of $27 billion. That's more than double the initial fraud amount. We're now looking at a combined total of nearly $40 billion in financial damage. The scale of this is almost impossible to comprehend. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, new charges have emerged. Lan is accused of raising an additional $1.2 billion by illegally issuing bonds through 4 companies. This isn't just a case of a few wealthy investors being duped. We're talking about 36,000 individual investors, many of them ordinary Vietnamese citizens who trusted their hard-earned savings to what they thought was a legitimate investment opportunity. The impact on Vietnam's economy is severe, but the human cost is even more heartbreaking. Thousands of families have lost their life savings, their hopes for the future shattered by this elaborate web of deceit. But the story doesn't end there. Lan is also facing charges of money laundering to the tune of $18.1 billion and illegally transferring $4.5 billion across borders. The sheer scale of these operations suggests a level of sophistication that's both impressive and terrifying. As we peel back the layers of this complex case, one question keeps coming to mind. How did this go undetected for so long? And what does it say about the financial systems that allowed such massive fraud to occur? The case of Trung Lan isn't just about one tycoon's fall from grace. It's a key piece in Vietnam's massive anti-corruption puzzle, aptly named the Blazing Furnace Campaign. This nationwide crackdown has been burning white hot since 2022, consuming corrupt officials and business executives in its path. But why now? Vietnam's government has long grappled with corruption, but this recent push has been unprecedented in its scope and intensity. The blazing furnace isn't just about punishing wrongdoers, it's about sending a clear message. No one is above the law. Lan's case, while staggering in its scale, is just one of many. High-ranking government officials have found themselves in the crosshairs, including 2 deputy prime ministers forced to resign. Even the president himself, Nguyen Xuan Phuc, stepped down amid the scandal. The net has been cast wide, ensnaring police officers, military personnel, and business leaders alike. Each arrest, each conviction, adds fuel to the blazing furnace, keeping it burning bright in the public eye. But as the furnace rages on, questions arise. Is this truly about rooting out corruption? Or is there a political angle at play? And what impact will this have on Vietnam's economy and its relationship with foreign investors? As Lan's new trial unfolds, these questions linger, reminding us that in the world of high-stakes corruption, there's always more than meets the eye. Behind the staggering numbers and shocking headlines, there are real people whose lives have been shattered by this fraud. One of these victims is Hoang Ngoc Diep, a 47-year-old who lost everything she had saved. Imagine working your entire life, saving every penny, only to see it all vanish in an instant. That's exactly what happened to Diep. She invested 1.7 billion dong, about $69,000, in an SCB bond back in 2022. This wasn't just spare change for her. As she put it, it was money saved through blood, sweat, and tears. Diep's story is heartbreaking. This wasn't just about losing money, it was about losing hope. The interest from her investment was meant to support her mentally ill sister and fund her children's education. In one fell swoop, her family's future was put in jeopardy. The emotional toll has been immense. Diep described falling into a deep depression after realizing what had happened. It's a stark reminder that financial crimes aren't victimless. They destroy lives, crush dreams, and leave lasting scars. But Diep isn't alone. She's just one of 36,000 people identified as victims of the SCB fraud. That's 36,000 stories of loss, pain, and shattered trust. This widespread devastation has led to something rare in Vietnam: public protests. In a country where dissent is often quickly silenced, people have taken to the streets to demand justice. It's a testament to the depth of anger and desperation felt by those affected. These protests aren't just about money. They're about accountability, about faith in the system, about the very fabric of society. When ordinary citizens feel they can no longer trust financial institutions or the government to protect their hard-earned savings, it shakes the foundations of the economy. As this case unfolds, we're left to wonder how many more Dieps are out there. How many more families are silently struggling, their futures derailed by this massive fraud? And what will it take to restore their faith in the system? As the dust settles from Trung My Lan's death sentence, a new chapter unfolds in this gripping saga of financial deceit. Just when we thought the story couldn't get any more intense, Lan finds herself back in the courtroom, facing fresh charges that could rewrite the book on white-collar crime in Vietnam. This time, the stakes are even higher. Lan stands accused of obtaining property by fraud, money laundering, and illegal cross-border money transfers. The numbers are staggering. $1.2 billion raised from nearly 36,000 investors through illegal bond issuances, $18.1 billion allegedly laundered, and $4.5 billion transferred in and out of the country unlawfully. But what does this mean for the victims? For many, like Hoang Ngoc Diep, whose life savings vanished into thin air, this trial represents a glimmer of hope for justice and potential restitution. Yet the road ahead is long and uncertain. This case is more than just about one tycoon's downfall. It's a litmus test for Vietnam's financial regulatory system. As the trial unfolds over the next month, all eyes will be on how the government handles this complex web of financial crimes. Will it lead to stricter oversight, tougher penalties, or perhaps a complete overhaul of the system? One thing's for certain, the outcome of this trial will send shockwaves through Vietnam's business world for years to come. As we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect on the staggering scale of Trung My Lan's alleged crimes. From a $12.5 billion fraud to new charges involving billions more, this case has sent shockwaves through Vietnam's financial system. The fall of this once powerful tycoon serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact white-collar crime can have on ordinary citizens. Thousands of investors like Hoang Ngoc Diep have seen their life savings vanish, dreams shattered by the allure of fraudulent bonds. But beyond the personal tragedies, this case raises serious questions about Vietnam's financial regulations and oversight. How did such massive fraud go undetected for so long? And what steps can be taken to prevent similar schemes in the future? As Vietnam's blazing furnace anti-corruption drive continues, one can't help but wonder, is this just the tip of the iceberg? Will more high-profile cases emerge in the coming months and years? Only time will tell if this case marks a turning point in Vietnam's fight against corruption. But one thing is certain, the reverberations of Trung My Lan's actions will be felt for years to come.